Welcome, friends. It's Miss Gisa. Today, I'm going to read you a story that takes place on the continent of Africa in the country of Uganda. It is written by Cathy Kreutter, and you can listen to Cathy speak about this book and her other books in the interview I did with her today. The story is called Amina's Choice, and it's written by Cathy Kreutter. The artwork is by Johnmary, Mukiza, and Eric Kreutter. Now, as I'm reading the story, I want you to think about whether you've ever heard a similar story. 3, 2, 1. Amina dropped her last mpiki seed. I won! Muze watched with pride, then smiled. Now look carefully. Here comes the most feared move in Omweso. Amina's eyes grew wide as Muze captured all her seats in 2 swift moves. Teach me how to do that, Amina pleaded. That move, my dear, clever daughter, is called Akachala. 2 moves and your opponent is out. I will teach you the secret. But tell me, Amina, why do you like playing this village man's game with your old father? Girls don't play Omweso. I want to be the champion of Tuti village like you and surprise others with Akachala. On market day, Muze and Amina rose early to finish the morning chores and get to the weekly market before school. Amina's mats and bracelets always sold quickly. Her nimble fingers could make exceptionally tight weaves. Before Amina's mother passed away, she taught Amina to count her palm strips carefully to weave neat, symmetrical patterns. Amina wove the memory of her mother's love into her mats. Once, walking home from the market, Muze asked again, Amina, are you sure you are not lonely? At home there is only me and the old cow to talk to. Amina was lonely, but not wanting to worry her father, she ran ahead exclaiming, I am too busy to be lonely. Amina's school friends were already near her home. She quickly grabbed her school bag and ran to join them. Amina loved school and wanted to be involved in everything. She enjoyed helping other students with their maths homework. When she danced, she could feel the drum inside her. When she sang, her harmony drew listeners. Amina never told Muze she had heard her teachers whispering, what will become of such a talented, cheerful child who only has an old Muze caring for her? But Muze was already worried about his growing daughter. When Amina started secondary school, Muze decided to take a job in the city. He quietly planned to be remarried to Odom, a lovely widow, living far from her family and struggling to raise 2 daughters. Odom could care for the farm and Amina. Amina choked back tears when Muze finally broke the news. Odom will look after you. Her 2 friendly daughters will help you with chores. You are top of your class, and I need to start saving money for university. Amina clung to that promise. Muze hugged her tight, whispering, I will have to stay away so I can save every shilling for you. You are my Amina, meaning one who is loved, named after your beloved mother. Even when I am not around, always remember, you are loved. And so, Odom and her 2 daughters moved in. What a tidy home and lovely hard-working girl, Odom flattered Amina smoothly when she was sure Muze was listening. The younger daughter knelt shyly. My name is Maleka, and it means angel. Sanyu, the older daughter, snorted, Hey, stop that. My name means joy. Nobody cares. Happy that his daughter was in good company, Muze soon left for the city. But the following morning, life changed for Amina. Get up, fetch water to bathe, wash the dishes, sweep the compound, iron this dress, start the charcoal stove, milk the cow, Take the cow to pasture. Cook our meal. Odom pulling and Sanyu pushing, day in and day out. This became Amina's routine. Each time Malaika started to help, Odom angrily scolded her. Amina will do all the work now. Amina would still be finishing morning chores when Sanyu and Malaika left for school, laughing with Amina's friends. She rushed to school alone, late, and squeezed onto the last bench, just in time for the morning quiz. With the first question, Amina's hand shot up to answer. Then she glanced at her arm, stained with matoki sap and charcoal burns, and lowered her eyes. She hid her arms in the folds of her uniform. Amina's teacher noticed the change in Amina and stopped her from slipping out of class. Amina Kalunji, you did not do your math homework again, and your grades are dropping. I will have Odom tutor you, starting today. At first, this frightened Amina, because Odom would not like her receiving help, but she knew she had fallen behind. Odom was kind and had recently won the school's math competition. Odom was 2 years older and liked tutoring, but he stared at his shoes when meeting Amina. He had never met a girl who was as good at math as Amina. Despite his shyness, he told her, Amina, you understand more about numbers than any student. I've noticed you selling in the market. You quickly add up prices in your head and estimate discounts, while still making a good profit on your maths. Odom continued, I don't think you need tutoring, but if you'd like, I'll walk you home and discuss the homework. I can even help you fetch water at the borehole. Thank you, Odom. I needed some kindness today. Take this bracelet and look carefully at the hidden pattern I wove. As Odom strolled home, he took out the bracelet to study it. He noticed the pattern of letters, O-L-L-E-H. Oh, it's hello. Amina is amazing, even learning to weave backwards. I have never met a girl like her before, he mumbled to himself. Distracted, Odom nearly ran into Odom and Sanyu on the road. He jerked his head to the side and dropped the bracelet. Picking it up, Odom immediately recognized it as Amina's weaving. Her eyes narrowed, wondering how Odom got that bracelet. She handed it back and decided his attention should be turned towards Sanyu. Hello, aren't you Odom, son of the village elder? Odom asked. Have you met my daughter, Sanyu? Odom, feeling the blood rush to his face, stuffed the bracelet into his pocket and ran away. Sanyu, isn't Odom in your class? Why don't you go talk to him? Odom asked. He is nice, but shy, confusing, and only likes math. I hate math, Sanyu retorted. There are other ways to get his attention, Odom cunningly replied, and she began a plan to put her daughter first in Odom's mind. Those are my school shoes. That is my shea oil, Amina protested. No, they are mine now. And here, repair my uniform, Sanyu insisted. Can I have extra thread to repair my uniform? Begged Amina. Odom laughed. I have nothing extra for you. Your father has forgotten you. He does not love you. Amina blurted out, My father loves me, and that's why he named me. Ha! Odom interrupted. You are not lovable. Since he has not sent any money for your school fees, you will stay home next term to work in the garden and make more mats. She continued harshly, and you can move your things from your room and sleep on the kitchen floor. That's where you belong. Muze had not forgotten his daughter. He sent money every month, but Odom selfishly spent it on herself and Sanyu. Odom hid the messages and letters Muze sent for Amina. Malaika liked Amina and was also afraid of Odom. She would sneak into the kitchen, and Amina was grateful for her company. Amina helped Malaika with her homework, and Malaika told entertaining stories. Once she remarked, I saw Odom today, and he asked how you were. Amina just sighed. Alone that night, Amina took out her hidden school books and wished her father would return. One day, Odom sought out Amina. Amina, why have you stopped coming to school? You will fail your exams. Then he stuttered. And we don't have anyone as talented as you who can lead our dances. Amina blushed, surprised that Odom had noticed her. She secretly hoped he could help her, but she was now too embarrassed by her bare feet, torn clothes, and rough hair to accept his compassion. Instead, she pushed him aside. "Go away, Odom. I am going to a new school now." Amina turned so he would not see her tears. As the months passed, Odom began to keep a closer watch on Amina, locking her in the kitchen while she went to sell Amina's mats. One day, Muse returned home, unannounced, and saw the kitchen locked. He believed Amina and the girls were at school and Odom in the market. He saw his amweso board broken and thrown on the firewood pile. Muse slowly walked to the market and found Odom. Before he could even speak, she lied. "I am so glad you have returned. Amina has run away. We thought she went to find you." Muse put his hand to his heart and quickly returned to his shoe shop in the city. He hoped he would find Amina there. Later that day, Odom demanded, "Amina, I need 20 of your best mats in 2 weeks' time." Amina asked Malika, "Why does Odom need those mats so urgently?" "There is going to be a Kwanjula. Sanyu is introducing Odom to the family." Malika answered with disdain. Odom convinced Odom's father that before Odom leaves for university, marrying Sanyu would cure his shyness. She made an offer he couldn't refuse. The bride price she'll accept is only 2 cows. Now, in Uganda, a Kwanjula is when the groom's family is introduced to the bride's family. Amina's eyes widened and, catching her breath, slowly gave a long sigh. "Oh no, this is going too far." Once Malika left, Amina grabbed and hugged the broken amweso piece she saved and rocked back and forth. She cried out, "Oh, Father, why don't you come home? I am forgotten, miserable, and all alone. Am I really unlovable?" Amina suddenly remembered her father's words and sprang up. She planted her feet. She took a deep breath. Raising up the amweso piece in defiance, she shouted to the dirt walls, "Yes, I am Amina, and I am loved. In fact, I am too clever to live hidden in this kitchen." Then she vowed, "This is the end of Odom controlling my life. I will find a way to that Kwanjula." "This game is over," she shouted. "Akachala, surprise! 2 moves and you are out, Odom. Mukubai, Akachala." A week before the Kwanjula, Amina needed extra help and bravely told Malika her plan. Malika snuck out and then back into the kitchen, trembling with excitement. Odom is so busy with the preparations that she won't notice any thread of fabric missing, even this key. Suddenly there was a banging on the door. "Amina, are you making those mats?" "Oh yes, mother dear, they will be the best for you," Amina replied with a mischievous smile. The long-awaited Kwanjula finally arrived. The cooks had been preparing food since dawn. As Odom's family and guests arrived in their finest wear, the aroma of steaming matoke and chicken stew tickled their appetites. Odom's entourage arrived last, bearing gifts. Then the long traditional ceremony of introductions began. Sanyu's auntie came out to identify Odom as the future groom, and he reluctantly moved to the front chair. His uncle whispered, "Look how much you are sweating, and you are not even paying attention. What's wrong?" Odom shrugged, mumbled to himself, "I really don't want to be here," then went back to his daydreaming. "And here come some of the eligible girls in our clan to greet you, led by Malika." Malika purposely sat right in front of Odom on the new mats spread out on the ground. He slowly looked away. "Is your intended among any of these?" the uncle asked. "No," Odom grumbled. He then glanced at Malika, who was staring intently at him. She remained seated while the other girls got up to leave. Odom felt very uncomfortable now. "What is she doing?" someone whispered to Odom. "Does she want to marry Odom?" "Get up!" Odom screeched. Malika stood up, desperately pointing at the mat, then left. Odom snapped to attention. Leaning forward, and stared at the mat. He got down on his hands and knees to examine the weave and patterns. "Come back to your seat," said the uncle, angered by his strange behavior. "Looks like... Could it be?" Odom pulled the bracelet out of his pocket. "Yes, Amina made these mats and left me a message, woven backwards. It can only mean one thing. Yunus, Uram, to nod." To the relief of his uncle, Odom hurriedly sat down, fully alert, and searched the crowd. "Look how Odom has come alive," Adong's neighbor whispered to her. "He must really love Sanyu. Look, she is lining up. Now here comes the last group of eligible girls in our clan to greet you." The line of girls who danced into the center were captivating. No one seemed to notice the extra girl, with her hat pulled low, slipping into the end of the line. But Odom recognized those dance moves. The girls knelt on the mats and politely greeted the guests. Odom's uncle grabbed his hand and guided him towards Sanyu. Sanyu, smiling in anticipation, lifted her gift basket for Odom to choose her. Instead, Odom's gaze went to the last girl. Amina lifted her head, and the moment their eyes locked, they paused and then smiled in agreement. Odom felt a surge of courage and whispered to Sanyu, "I am sorry," then walked over to Amina. He took her hand and put the bracelet on her wrist, saying, "Thank you. Your bracelet gave me courage." The Kwanjula went into an absolute uproar. The guests fell over themselves in disbelief. "What is he doing?" the crowd shouted. "Did he pick the wrong girl? Has this ever happened? What about the dowry? It should be Sanyu." Odom jumped up and, raging like a furious bull, charged towards Amina. Amina stood tall and faced Odom. "Excuse me," a voice boomed out from behind. All eyes turned to see Muze arriving late and walking up to the front. All eyes turned to see Amina, tearing up that her father had returned. All eyes turned to Odom to see her next move. "By the look on your face, Odom, I can see the rumors I heard are true." Muze put a protective arm around Amina and said to all present, "I have heard Odom is a fine young man. If Odom wants to talk to me, I give my blessing. But it is Amina's choice." Amina replied, "I do like Odom, but first we must both finish school." Odom held Amina's hand and wholeheartedly agreed. A very relieved Odom, bursting with new confidence, declared, "Let's celebrate." And they all ate, danced, and laughed at the strangest Kwanjula in memory. Odom and Sanyu ran away from the ceremony, horrified and ashamed. Muze moved back home to farm and sell shoes in Tuti. He repaired the Omweso board and once again became the village champion. Odom left for university and promised to wait there for Amina. Malaika stayed with Amina to finish school so they could both go to university. Amina to be a math teacher and Malaika to be a writer. Malaika's first book became Amina's story. Obedience is important. Standing up for yourself is courageous. Find your voice. Find your strength. And in the back, it gives you some information about math in Uganda, about Omweso, which is the board game that they were playing in the story, about what the Ugandan names mean of the characters that are in the story, how to pronounce some of the words in the book, and about the ceremony of Kwanjula. And then the very last page is a note from the author that I will read to you. It says, "Ugandan children are resilient. I have heard many personal testimonies of rising above overwhelming odds to create a successful and significant life. It has reminded me of Cinderella stories. As a librarian, I collected 27 versions of Cinderella stories from around the world. The Amina story was written to be recognizable as a Cinderella-type story, but is very much a Ugandan story. I wove together many actual stories of friends here. As one of my Ugandan students said, this seems like a Cinderella story, but it's my story. And then you can read a little bit more about how it is similar to a Cinderella story. And there is a map of Uganda with the village where the story takes place. I hope you enjoyed that story. I will be reading other wonderful books from her as well. And don't forget to catch the interview I did with her to learn more about Cathy and her writing process and her books. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to like and subscribe to support our channel.